Hey everybody, it's Jeff Smith back with you for another episode of The Coin Show. Broke out my famous blue gloves, so you know it's me. This episode we're going to be talking about 20th century coins. Now in past episodes we went over the Lincoln cent and the Jefferson nickel being the first place that most people start collecting coins. This 20th century typeset falls nowhere near the advanced collector, more toward the beginner, intermediate level, just because although the coins in here you'll find in this set are plentiful and easy to find, not necessarily in circulation, and the ones that you can buy cheaply are pretty well worn, and you can obviously do a good set, a good condition set, very cheaply, but to get higher conditions, and really if you want to start a collection, you should really buy the highest grade coin you can afford. Just because the lower grade examples are well worn, lots of the design will be missing. In higher graded examples, lots of the design is still there, it's sharp, it's crisp, and it really has a wow factor to it. So when you want to collect coins that are a little more impressive and will wow people when you pull them out, obviously you don't want to do a $10,000 coin and throw it in a little blue book like this, but they're still very affordable, and we'll go through which coins are in this typeset and what you should expect to pay for them in a different range of conditions from good to uncirculated. So first off, this is another Whitman folder, and this includes sort of one coin from each design, from each denomination for the 20th century from start to finish. Now I say that because this album came out in 1990 something or other when I first bought it, and the US Mint did something pretty unexpected in 1999. I might have covered it in past shows. Actually, I think I have. In 1999, the Washington Quarter reverses went to the state program. So the first 5 states in the series debuted in 1999, and this book didn't cover it because it came out prior to that, and Whitman had no idea that was going to happen when they made the book, so there are no representations of state quarters in this book. Also, the Susan B. Anthony $1 piece was reissued in 1999, and that's not represented here. So, if you go to a coin shop now and look for the same exact book, 20th Century Type Coin Collection, a new book will undoubtedly have holes for those coins. But this is an older one. Like I said, I got it somewhere in the 90s. And this one is not complete. I have several of these. Again, the stories I told earlier. One for me, one for each of my daughters. And grandkids are coming up, and I'll buy new books for them. And when I start them on collecting, they will have the 1999 issued coins in their books. But this is just a basic rundown. Cents, nickels, dimes, quarters. And the second page goes to half dollars and dollars. And the third page over here continues with the dollars. And then down here is probably where the space is going to be used for the 1999 stuff. But this is a birth year type set. So I was born in 1970. I would put 1970 coins in here for my daughters. Their birth year, it goes in there. So just your basic Whitman folder. This is probably $3 or $4 at a coin shop. Some stores, supermarkets, superstores will have them in a hobby section along with the cards and stuff. But if you can't find them anywhere else, find them online. So what we're going to do is I'm going to take you through a tour of every coin, every denomination that was minted in the 20th century, and I'll give you some information on what you should expect to pay in different price ranges for each coin. So let's get started. Okay. The very first coin that we'll talk about from the 20th century typeset is the Indian head cent. Now, the Indian head cent debuted in 1859, and it ran through 1909. So if you want to pick a really fine example or extremely fine example of that coin for the details, you can expect to spend $2 to $3 for anything in the 1900s. And really that's what we should do. If we're going to build a 20th century set, we should constrain the dates to 1900 and later. So if you want to spend $2 on a good example for an Indian head cent, awesome. You can find those out there. If you want not the best example, but really close to the best example, an extremely fine coin will run you about $10. So let's do it both ways. We'll start keeping track of the low and the high, and you can decide which way you want to go. Let's just take the 1900. $2 in good and $10 in extremely fine. Next on the list is the Lincoln head cent. And this book doesn't really specify. I believe other books I have breaks them up into a wheat back and a memorial back. This one just says Lincoln cent. So for the first hole in this book, you just grab something out of your pocket change and put it in. So 1 cent. Just make sure it's something really nice and shiny. A like new mint state kind of cent. Pull it out of circulation. So that could be as low as 1 cent. But if you want something a little more historical. Okay, let's say you want to use the very first year of the Lincoln cent, in 1909. If you go with a good condition coin, you spend $2. But you can step up your game to an extremely fine condition coin for about $5. So let's put down $2 for good, $5 for extremely fine. And that would be the 1909 plain, so P cent, and no VDB on the back. The VDB is Victor David Brenner, the designer of the cent, and he put his initials on the reverse. In 1909, it was subsequently taken off, but you can find the 1909 Philadelphia minted, so no mint mark, non-VDB cent, $2 in good condition, about $5 in extremely fine. Now the next hole in this book, this particular book, says Lincoln 1943 steel cent. Now if you want to go with the good condition steel cent, you're going to spend about 45 cents. And for the nearly or uncirculated coin, if you shop around, you can find them truly uncirculated, untouched, for about $5. So I'll put those values in. The next hole is a Lincoln Memorial reverse. Again, go through your pocket change. You can find one for 1 cent and throw that in. If you want to get a beat up one or an uncirculated one, it's the same price, 1 cent out of circulation. So go for the highest grade example you can find and put that in the book. So to wrap up for the cents row, for the 2 examples of sets we are proposing to build, the total buy value, or buy-in, purchase price for the good set would be $4.46. And for the extremely fine to uncirculated set, $20.01. For their entire run were minted in Philadelphia, so none of them have mint marks. except 1912. For some strange reason, the Denver Mint and the San Francisco Mint picked up the Liberty nickel and started minting them. Now for 1912, Philadelphia Mint, minted in Philadelphia just like all the previous issues, $2 and good. For the 1912D, minted in Denver, $3, pretty good, not that much of a jump. For the 1912S Liberty nickel, in good condition, $175. I don't think you want to get that coin and put it in a little blue Whitman book. If you want to venture out and find that particular coin, Buffalo nickel was minted from 1913 until 1938. Now there are a couple types of buffalo nickels, which this book doesn't cover. There's a type 1 and type 2. Type 1 is a high ground design where the buffalo is standing on a mound of dirt. The problem with that was the denominational value, 5 cents, and the mint mark underneath that mound wore away very quickly. So, early on in the minting process, in 1913, they came up with Type 2, which put the buffalo on a line of ground, and the 5 cents and mint mark were carved into the mound to protect them. So, Type 1 and Type 2 for 1913. Now, if you want to go with good specimens and as cheap as you can possibly get them, you're going to want to go with 1926 and later, because good condition coins run about 40 cents. That's, again, it's 1926 and up. So 1926 to 1938. One other thing is you're going to want to stick to the Philadelphia minted coins. The Denver and San Francisco minted buffalo nickels are pretty pricey in some of those dates, 1926 especially. The 1926D is $8, and 1926S is $15. But then you get to 1927, and they're all 40 cents. 1928, they're all 40 cents. That continues on until 29. Let's see, 34 through 37. Basically, the coins minted later in the run had much higher mintages. So they're all pretty much 40 cents. The only exception being the 1931S, very low mintage, so it's $10 and good. So, let's say the very first year that is extremely affordable is the 1926 Philadelphia minted buffalo nickel, 40 cents for good condition. So we'll put that down to our total. And the same coin, 1926, in extremely fine condition is about $9. Which is not bad, but there are cheaper years. For example, if you go 1935, an extremely fine buffalo nickel is $2. So let's put that one down. We'll do 1935 P or S, both about the same price. Extremely fine, $3. $3, because the prices range from $2.18 to $2.84, so we'll just say $3, $2 or $3, and you can probably find a good deal on buffalo nickels at a coin shop. One interesting note so far about the Buffalo nickel. Of all the coins we've covered in this little section so far, the Buffalo nickel is the only coin that is completely contained in the 20th century. It is, by definition, a 20th century coin. The Indian head cent started in the 19th century, ended in the 20th. The Lincoln cent started in the 20th century, but is still being made today, so it's into the 21st century. The Liberty nickel started in the 1800s, which is the 19th century, and ended in the 20th century. The Buffalo nickel started and ended in the 20th century, 1913 to 1938. So far in this collection, as we go through them, the Buffalo nickel is the only 20th century only coin. Interesting. Now on to the Jefferson nickel. Okay, so with the Jefferson nickel, again, they are still currently circulating, so if you wanted to, just grab one out of your pocket and put it in the holder. You're perfectly welcome to do that. If you want to get a little more interesting, maybe get the 1938 Jefferson nickel. A couple ways you can do that is you can go coin roll hunting, like I've detailed in other shows, and just find one and put it in. Or you can go to a coin shop or online and get a uncirculated premium example for about $5. So we'll call that the high. So 5 cents circulated condition out of your pocket, or $5 for the 1938 coin, the first year of issue. What you could also do, if you wanted something a little more interesting in your book, is get a war nickel. Now, from 1942 to 1945, nickel, the metal, was needed in the war effort, so it was actually more valuable than silver, which was used in circulating coins of the dime, quarter, 50-cent piece, and even the dollar. The Morgan dollar and the peace dollar were still sort of circulating during the war. So they issued silver nickels from 1942 to 1945. And you can tell those silver issues, if you flip it over on the reverse, Monticello has a large mint mark, P, D, or S, above the dome of the building of Monticello. And incidentally, that's the first time that the P mint mark ever appeared on a coin. It came back in the early 80s, but this was the first time, and was the only time for many, many, many decades, that the P mint mark was used on a coin. So if you want to find a good condition wartime silver nickel from 1942 to 1945, you'll spend about $1 on it, in a good condition. If you want to go to a coin shop or find one online, you can get one extremely fine condition or even uncirculated condition, from $1 to $4 to $5, depending on which year. So again, $5 seems to be the high price that you will pay for an uncirculated Jefferson nickel. Take your pick of the year. Maybe go find your birth year and use that. Or the very first year of issue, 1938, or the silver war nickel editions of 1942 to 1945, and you'll spend about $5 either way. So choice of years is yours. And that takes us through all the nickels of the 20th century. So to complete the nickels of the 20th century, for a good condition collection, you can expect to pay about $2.50. And for the extremely fine to uncirculated set, you can expect to pay about $16. Now, on to the dimes. So the first dime to circulate in the 20th century was called the Barber dime, named after the designer, Charles Barber. He was the United States Mint chief engraver. And these dimes were minted from 1892 to 1916. So staying with the 1900 theme that we've been working on so far, let's go to the 1900 Barber dime. For one in good condition, you can spend about $4. And for one in extremely fine to uncirculated condition, $25 or higher, depending on grade, of course. And you want to get the P, or Philadelphia, issue for 1900. They were also minted in New Orleans and San Francisco with much higher prices. The New Orleans dime is about 20 bucks in good and 200 in extremely fine. And the 1909 S barber dime, not too bad in good at 5 bucks, and it's really not too bad in extremely fine for 30 bucks. But we want to keep the lower end of all these, make this set affordable. So for the barber dime, we're going to go with the 1900 in good condition for $4, and in extremely fine condition, $25, both Philadelphia minted dimes. Now on to the only exclusively 20th century dime, the Mercury dime. So the Mercury dime was minted from 1916 to 1945. So in good condition, they are fairly steady in price at around $3 to $4 for most years and even most mint marks. There doesn't seem to be a lot of variation between the Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco mints. There are exceptions, of course, some key dates, but if we're going to pay $3 to $4 for pretty much any date in good condition, let's go back to the very start. We'll do the 1916 Philadelphia or 1916 San Francisco dimes in good condition, $4 to $5. Now, here is the rub, though. If you want something in extremely fine condition, you have to be very, very picky about which coin you get, because these coins have what's called conditional rarity, because they were heavily circulated. A dime was actually quite a bit of money back in this time period. So they were used, and used a lot. Now you got to figure these were actually circulated during the Depression, so they changed hands a lot, and they bought a lot of stuff, and a lot of people touched them. They circulated heavily. So to get one in extremely fine condition or better, the price tends to ramp up very fast and very expensively. So you have to pick and choose which dates you want if you want the uncirculated or extremely fine condition coins, the higher grade coins, to look better in your conditional type set here. So we'll do extremely fine. It falls not really in the middle. It's closer toward the uncirculated side of the spectrum. If you want the same 1916 Philadelphia dime in uncirculated condition, it's $33. That's actually pretty good, because the 1916D in the same condition is almost $12,000. That's what having a mint mark will do for you. No mint mark, 30 bucks. D mint mark, $12,000. Don't think you want a $12,000 coin in your little blue Whitman book. So 1916, $33. I'm going to scroll down here through the values and find something possibly cheaper. Maybe not, because I'm seeing a lot of 200s, 500s, 500. Here we go. If you want to spend $10 or less, stick with the 1926 Philadelphia or later in Philadelphia's. There's an $8, there's a $10, there's a $5. In fact, 1935 forward, you can get an extremely fine example for about $6. So we'll do the earliest coin in extremely fine condition at the cheapest price. That would be the 1929 P in extremely fine condition for $6. And really, you want something. This is a coin I would not really collect in good condition. The details are worn off so easily, and the price from good to extremely fine, if you pick the right year, there's not much of a price difference, just a couple bucks. So this is definitely one of those coins I would say get the finest example you can afford, because the detail on this coin is just immaculate. Look at the front and the reverse. There's so many fine details. Really, coins from this series, the Mercury dime in good condition, are just ghosts of their beautiful selves. So for this coin, get the most pristine example you can afford, because the details really lend themselves to a higher grade coin. And there are a couple other coins I will also mention about when we get to them. So That wraps up the Mercury dime. Onward to the Roosevelt dime, which you can still find in your pockets today. So the Roosevelt dimes were introduced in 1946, just after World War II ended, and they are still circulating today. Now here's one interesting little fun fact you can pass upon anyone you show this collection to. The Roosevelt dime is the only coin still circulating that has never gone under a redesign. The nickels had several redesigns. The Jefferson nickel. In 2005, the obverse was redesigned. In 2006 was the Westward Journey series of nickels. So the Jefferson nickel has had a couple different obverses and reverses in its run. The Washington quarter, like we discussed earlier, has had several revisions, the first being the bicentennial quarter in 1975 and 1976, and then it returned to the first design, and then in 1999 it got all crazy with the state quarters program. So the Roosevelt dime is the only current circulating coin that has never been redesigned. The same exact design that it started with in 1946 is the same design you can find on a 2016 and every other year in your pocket. So, the only difference in the entire run is in 1965 it switched over to the current composition, which is copper nickel clad, but from 1946 to 1964 it was 90% silver. That's the only difference, and it was a composition switch because the price of silver had risen. So, and this is probably the first coin, other than the Jefferson nickel as well, where it doesn't really matter that you get an uncirculated example or a good example. You could pull something out of your pocket right now for 10 cents, get a newer one so it's nice and bright and shiny and it's almost uncirculated, pop it in your folder for 10 cents. That's the cheapest you can get. Or you can go to a coin shop or shop around on the internet, find something uncirculated. Let's go back to 1946, the very first year of issue. Uncirculated, perfect condition, $2. That's right, $2. Let's go with that. $2 for the low and the high. Well, we'll keep 10 cents as the low, $2 is the high. Really, for $2, go get an uncirculated coin. That wraps up the dime section. So for the good or average circulated set of dimes, you would spend $8, roughly. And for the uncirculated or extremely fine condition coins, you would spend about $30. And that's give or take. It's not exactly what I quoted during the video here, but you can always find little deals or find a little slightly lower prices if you shop around. And you don't want to build this in one day. You want to shop around and find the lowest price and the best looking coin you can afford and build the set you can really have a story about. So again, for good, $8. For extremely fine to uncirculated, $30. That wraps up our tour through the 20th century dimes. Just for reference, I'm using coinstudy.com, cointrackers.com, coinfacts.com is another one. On to the quarters, where things get pretty complicated once we get through the Washington series.